Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the March 7th commission meeting. This is meeting 2022-06. And up first is a prayer, followed by a pledge of allegiance. We have Reverend Joel Tuches here.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Iglesia Nueva Esperanza Church. Okay, one of them, all right.
Father, we thank you this afternoon for allowing us to meet. Lord God, thank you for everyone who's here present today. Thank you for their hard work in leadership. We ask for our city, for our county. We ask that you bless us, that give us the wisdom for every decision that needs to be made. We ask that you place in our hearts what is best for your people and what is best for this country. We pray for our land. We also pray for the international incidents that we are facing right now. We ask that you be with every person who needs encouragement, who needs peace in their hearts. Please guide us today. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, today. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so we would like to amend the agenda, the consent agenda, for a grant application signature. This is for the state of Kansas Department of Health and Environment. And it looks like this is on immunization action plan and a state formula plan. So I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda so we can actually have the chairman and director, Angela, sign this for the health department. All right, with the motion second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we'll move into the consent agenda. Up first is the approval of the meeting minutes 2022-04 and a cereal malt beverage application for Craig Dolansky Racing Promotions, which is Dodge City Raceway Park, and this grant application signature for the health department.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I second
All right, with a motion second, I'll go ahead and just call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is approval for claims for payment. This is in the amount of $554,933.39.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the claims for payment as presented.
I second
Okay, the motion second, I'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. All right, we're at the part of the meeting where it's open public comment. Thought maybe there was something hot coming off the press there. Please limit it to 5 minutes per individual, 15 minutes per topic. Feel free to come up to the mic and let us know what you'd like to discuss with the county commission. And any final action may be deferred until the next meeting unless an emergency situation does arise. But the microphone's open, so feel free to come on up and talk. And if you're a road and bridge director and you want to put somebody in the hot seat, you're more than welcome. Oh, no, okay, shaking head. Any movement behind the pillar? Nope, okay. We'll move past open public comment on to unfinished business. This is for information technology on Meraki renewal.
We did finally get notification back from the vendors for the Meraki firewalls. And what we presented to you for the renewal of those is this $19,724.43. This is for 7 devices that we have that control security for a lot of our offices. I'd like to seek permission to renew those if we may. Or answer any questions that you may have. That's fine. I sent quite a bit in for this meeting, so.
Yeah.
It may got a little confusing.
It is pretty, I tried to read through it, and I don't understand.
Well, basically, sir, the firewalls is our first line of defense in our network. And without those, I don't know if you remember back in 2015, 2016, I wasn't here. But there was a lot of ransomware issues. And with firewalls, we've been able to tighten that down so that we don't have those type of issues.
How many attacks do you think we get a day? Does it tell you that?
Yes, sir, I knew that report. There's roughly, just emails alone, there's 6,000 to 7,000 emails blocked every day.
Every day.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the, is this a renewal?
This is renewal for hardware support, yes, sir.
To approve the renewal for the hardware support from Meraki in the amount of $19,724.43.
I second that.
All right. We have a motion second. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any legal counsel on here. Okay, we'll move on into the county administrator's report.
The first item on the admin report is for the county engineer, John Harvey Watts. He is here in person.
In person. Good afternoon.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Hi, John.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to go through my active items since I was here last month in February. Over the top, I had to realize I was looking at this, I had several items on the old business that really haven't gone anywhere for a while, so I rearranged my listing in order of active projects to not currently active projects. Try to make it easier to keep up with what's currently in the mix. The Quaker Road drainage improvement, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. We did come up with that conceptual layout for a low water crossing. There between 115 and 116 Road. Road and Bridge has been in communication with the township, and they are discussing if they want to move forward with this project. And it was requested if they do, that they come before the commission board to explain to the commissioners that they do want to move forward with the project and make sure that the county's only going to work on the low water crossing itself, and the township needs to fix up the road and the drainage and the ditches along it too, and make sure that they're committed to doing their end of the project as well. So hopefully we'll hear from them definitively in the near future. Iron Star Wind Project, as you all know, that we've had, Kirkland Michael has had a person on site throughout the course of the construction of this wind farm. This last month, the contractor did finish up dressing up the county and township roads and reclaiming areas that they had improved, say radiuses around corners, and given us authorization then to get the post-construction documentation completed and work on that report. So we did get the post-construction documentation done. We're working on developing the report. From what our guy has told me that was on site, the contractor at Wanzek did a pretty good job keeping up with maintenance and repairs as the project was going along. So he said there shouldn't be anything significant after the fact of this project. It should be pretty quick, button it up and get out of here.
Did we have aggregate left over that were gonna be spread across the county on the land, like the roadways?
Chris, have you heard anything about that? Or is the county getting any aggregate?
I offered it all to the townships first, because it was all the township roads that were affected, and I
Yeah.
believe they got quite a bit.
Did they take advantage of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, thank you. This isn't directly a county project, but it does involve county infrastructure on Highway 50 expansion between Dodge City and Cimarron. The pre-construction conference with the contractor was held by KDOT about, I think,
2 weeks ago, and they're anticipating that there may be construction started as early as late March. They'll start, plan is for the contractor to start in the Gray County part of the project first, at the east end of the project, which would be west of the Santa Fe Trail pull off the county line. Partly the reason for that is there's a fair number of things in Ford County that are still needing to be moved. Fences and buildings have not been eradicated yet, that need to be moved. Some utilities that are still finishing up. So there's bigger areas in Gray County where they can start moving dirt and building some box culverts. So possibly this month we'll start seeing some action. I'd be surprised if it might push into April, but we'll just see what happens. So we'll try to keep keep an update on what's going on every time I'm here. I'm certainly happy to answer questions as best as I can. As you all are aware, that Kirk Michael was hired by KDOT to produce construction plans for the roadway improvements on 112 Road and Outlaw Road, there between Highway 56 and 283. For the anticipated construction of the Hill Marchese facility. We completed the field survey of the 2 miles of road that I mentioned. And we're currently working on preliminary design plans as well as mapping the existing right-of-way. So we anticipate having the existing right-of-way completed this week, and that'll be utilized to analyze how much right-of-way would be needed to be purchased to construct the proposed roadways. Currently, we're planning on having a field check of the project maybe in April or May. And final plans again are on by schedule, are supposed to be completed in August for December bid-letting. So moving forward with that project. Next item on my list here, Kirk and Michael have been working on development of preliminary plans for replacing the low water crossing on 127 Road between Kettle and Marshall. We did come up with the preliminary layout, and talking with Commissioner Tassett about what the users of that road might want for a drivable width. We're trying to keep it within a reasonable cost range. What we settled upon is a 16-foot wide driving width without concrete low water crossing structure. If you think about a normal roadway width is 12 foot, 4 foot wider than normal driving lane on a highway. What we come up with a preliminary cost to build that structure is about $200,000. Gotta be honest and forthcoming today, and as you all probably aware, prices are volatile, as you heard earlier, and so I'm saying it's $200,000 for current estimate, but who knows what's gonna happen through the course of the year. But I'm here to.
That's where he went to school, Dodge City. You know that things change.
Things change, that's for sure. What I'm here today to ask the commissioners, so we have preliminary plans. Is it supported by the commission to move forward with final plans of that 16-foot wide roadway width and move forward bidding later this year? Find out what kind of prices we get. Knowing full well that if the prices come in exorbitantly high, the plan is still good. We can reject bids. It seems unaffordable this time, and see if prices come down through the winter next year, whenever world conflicts come to a close, hopefully, that type of thing. Thought it was prudent to ask for support of the commission if they want to move forward with final plans and bidding it this year. That is part of our scope already on the engineering side, so that part would cost money.
I think at this time, I mean, we definitely want to see a project moving on. I mean, it's smart on our behalf to see what it looks like today. If it's not something that has to be pushed for a little bit, I mean, I'd rather get it done now. I mean,
I don't foresee materials getting
cheaper.
significantly cheaper than they were 2 months ago necessarily.
This is what it is, so. On this low water crossing, were you thinking about using is this the one with the oil takers, where you
Right.
use those two in a row and?
So what, because of the composition of Coon Creek,
In the ground.
it's a perennial stream where it's running water all the time. So the Corps of Engineers has taken the stance on perennial streams, you need to provide, they call 85%, the capacity to accommodate 85% stream bank full. So they want structure, a drainage structure that's gonna allow 85% of its normal bank capacity of that amount of water to flow through it. So for this location, by our hydraulic study, we came up with the need for 4 half tanks.
Okay.
So they're, and these are railroad oil tanker cars, they are.
Yeah.
In this case, they would cut them in half, so they're flat on the bottom and then they're basically half height. So that helps them be a low profile, you get more capacity because they're wide but not as tall. So we would put 4 of them side by side and then construct concrete end walls is what we're proposing, as well as a concrete surface across the top. And we were proposing, with the amount of trees that are in the area, to cut the ends of the tanks at like a 45-degree angle, so that if you do get wood debris washing up,
Oh, it holds
it'll
it
kind
back.
of push up the slope and allow water to keep flowing underneath the wood debris. If you have a vertical face, it'll tend to just get pushed up against there and just pressing on and close the water flow off completely. So we're proposing to bevel the ends of it and cap it on concrete to help. That way, when you do get water going over it, it's not gonna wash the structure out. We also then put sheet piling, steel sheets down below the concrete, probably like 10 feet into the stream bank, for additional armament. So if you have a large flow that's trying to scour the stream bed out, you've got quite a bit of depth below ground to resist being undermined in glass. So, it leads to a large cost, but it's a structure that should be there a long time.
Yeah.
That's the intent. We don't want to do this very often.
Yeah, I think it's smart to keep moving forward with an estimate.
You know, I've got interest over there. I wanted to kind of lay back and let you guys have some discussion on that, but we've also had this closed now for a couple of years.
It's been a while.
I don't recall exactly when it was that it collapsed and caved in, but, so those landowners over there have been without that access to their property there for a couple of years now. I'd like to see it move forward as well, so.
Like I said, there's currently no cost to move forward. Final plan and bidding, and then we'll see what we get for bids.
Be interesting to see what the actual structure, first time we've ever tried this here, getting the
The half
car.
tanks are-
Mhm.
And we've deployed them in quite a few projects around the state, different places, and they're easy to install, they're
Right.
fabricated, so they just ship them up here. The beveling part I talked about, they would do that in the field on site, but otherwise they're built in Oklahoma and shipped up here. We've installed in quite a few different places, south central Kansas, north central, out west.
Yeah.
It's all over.
I think it's an exciting thought, because in my mind, it's not the most expensive route to go. I mean,
Compared to a span bridge, yeah.
Right.
And these tanks are like half-inch thick steel, so they don't rust very fast either, they're gonna be there a while,
Yeah.
heavy duty.
I was surprised it was gonna take 4 to go across that span, but,
It doesn't need that many to go across the span, but to maintain the water flow, or retain the water flow through it.
Yeah.
According to require, that's how much opening, what we call pipes.
Yeah.
You would need for that.
yeah.
They're like 8 foot 9 inches wide, round, so when you cut in half, they're about 4.5 to 5 foot tall, 8.5, 9 foot across.
Yeah.
About 36 foot total width, and you put 4 of them side by side.
Good. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to authorize Kirkland Michael to advance the project through the next stage.
And I'll second that. All right, with motion second, any other discussion on it? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll proceed forward. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on my list is the planned roadway reclamation or pavement reclamation of 102 Road between Highway 50 and Garnett. We helped, Chris and I went out and did a field check review of the preliminary plans when I was here in February. Kind of got that project on hold tentatively right now until we do further investigations on Jewel Road. Try to sort out what's going on there because obviously we don't want that to, if we have some cracks showing up in Jewel Road, we don't want that to happen again. We can figure out what's going on. What I was gonna ask, so the process we did on Jewel Road is a newer process that's only been around for a few years. Doing the 12 inches of reclamation and the thinner inches of asphalt. If the county is wanting to get 102 Road done this year, because I think what we're doing on Jewel Road, taking cores, testing the materials, is gonna take a few months to figure that all out. We could go back to the more traditional method, which is thinner reclamation depth and thicker asphalt depth on 102 Road, if we want to get that project done this year. And that's more tried and true, that's more like what was done on what's the one with Wood Farm?
Yucca.
Yucca Road. It's gonna probably cost a little bit more, but it's a methodology that's been around a lot longer and I guess more proven, if you will. Again, we could, that wouldn't change what we're doing on the engineering side. And go forward and take bids on that and see what kind of costs we come up compared to the budget we have and decide to accept the bid or not at that point. But I wanted to pitch that to you all, because the budget is available now to do the project. It's just a matter of how we do the project and how much it's gonna cost.
So, the way we did on Yucca, how'd you call that?
It was basically the same thing, but instead of, so on Jewel Road, we
Thickness
went
difference.
12 inches deep with a cement treated stabilized base. On Yucca, it was only 6 inches deep. You know, on 102 Road, I would go with additional asphalt. So with the reclamation that Terracon designed for us, it was 12 inches of cement treated base, and I believe it was 3.5 or 4 inches of asphalt. We would probably up that to like 5 or 6 inches of asphalt with only a 6-inch cement treated base. So it'd be less base work, a little more asphalt work.
And more expensive?
The asphalt's expensive.
Okay.
That's where the idea of the thicker base, less asphalt, because the asphalt is so much more expensive than the cement treated base, that brings the cost of the project down. But because we're having performance that's unsatisfactory at this point on Jewel Road, I'm skeptical to repeat that process until we figure out what's going on with Jewel Road.
How long do you think it'd be before we figure it out with Jewel?
I think it's gonna be several months. So it's, now it's March, it could be June or July, before we get the materials testing, samples collected and sent off and the testing will complete.
Do we have core samples on 102?
Well, yes, Terracon did all that for us, and as you recall, from Jewel Road, we found out that on Jewel, the thicknesses were recorded incorrectly, and so they went out and resampled 102 Road.
They did, okay.
They did, and so we have confirmed.
What did we find out there as far as
It's
thickness?
thicker.
It is
It's thicker than what they had on the original report.
Okay.
So they came out, they did 113 Road at the same time, they were doing Landfill Road, and they recorded as well and came up with the same thing, the person that had done the original report.
What about the road base, John? What did they find out with the core samples on it as opposed to what we found on Jewel?
On 102 Road?
Yeah, well, on 102, Jewel Road, we had problems deep. Where we were getting those lateral cracks that were, and are we seeing that same kind of failure on 102?
It's similar, I don't know that it's quite to the extent that Jewel Road was before we reclaimed it, but it's rough.
And is it because of the same problem? What I'm getting at. Are we, so we completely reclaimed everything that was there on Jewel Road? Is that
Pavement-wise,
right?
yes.
And we put that back into the
Right.
base and concrete
That's
stabilized.
correct.
Are we still doing that here?
If we were to go with the 6-inch thick treated base on 1 and 2 road, because I'm going on memory here, so, but I believe there's like 8 inches of asphalt on 1 and 2 road thickness.
So we'd be leaving 2 inches.
So we would have to take some of that off, because we don't, I would like to, what I've done before is like, if you're doing 6 inches of reclaiming, I would mix like 3 to 4 inches of asphalt in with 2 inches of dirt. Something like that, or 3 and 3, something like that, so if there's 8 inches of asphalt there now, I would probably take 5 off, maybe even 6. And so you're mixing asphalt with the dirt and cement together.
So we have millings to haul off and store for it.
Jewel Road, you gave me 12 inches deep, and so if you had 8 inches of asphalt, you'd be mixing in 4 inches of dirt with 8 inches of asphalt, so you'd still be getting dirt mixed in with on 1 and 2 road.
I'm just trying to get my head around whether we are actually milling all of the base that's there. It's just whether we're gonna haul some of it off or,
So if we milled off 5 inches, then there would only be 3 inches of asphalt left, and then you'd still get down into 6 inches, or you'd get 3 inches of asphalt, and you'd get 3 inches of dirt with the
Right.
6 inches. So we'd still
the
get
three
down to
that
the.
was left there is what you're mixing in with the dirt.
Yeah,
and
so we'd still get down to the problem where the base was falling apart.
Okay, that's what I needed. Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wasn't hitting the key point you were looking for.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know how to answer this question for you.
if we invest, 2 months into finding out what's wrong with Jewel, and we find out that it's the process that we chose, we then make the decision to do the other process here, and we're 2 months behind.
Yeah, if we wait 2 months, I don't know that we can get the project built this year. Contractors are filling up their workload, materials are getting short, on supply already. So there's a risk that the project wouldn't get done this year, I mean, a very real risk, as well as prices continue to escalate on everything, which may make us hold off a year anyway, and see what happens if we take bids. KDOT's getting ready to start on Highway 50, which is, we're trying to get on Highway 50 with this project. The contractor out there, it's an asphalt, gonna be an asphalt surface on Highway 50. The way they laid out their schedule so far, and we're still a long ways away, is I don't know that they would be prepared to pave, if they wanted to bid on 1 and 2 road, if they would be prepared to pave it even next year, let alone this year. And with the amount of work they've got on Highway 50, I don't know if they would, I have not approached them at the start of that too, but I don't know if they would be interested in trying to bid on 1 and 2 road. I've been weighing that in my mind as well. Contractor's already gonna be there working. Cost does cement treated base as part of one of their processes, so even that part of it might be something they would be interested in. I don't think that they would be there this year to do that. So, would that help us to wait a year? I don't know if the funding that's identified for this project could be carried over, and that's a question for you want to do the finances.
Let me ask you this, John. If we tell you, go ahead now, let's get started, and we use the old process, the time-proven process as a starting point right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in a couple months, we find out that what's going on Jewel Road is not a problem with the process. And it's actually cheaper to go do it that way. Can we change then back to that process?
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, I don't see where there's a downfall by saying, let's go ahead now, get the ball rolling.
I agree.
Using the old process, and then if in 2 or 3 months or whatever, when we find out that information, that there's no problem with the process that we used out here, and it's cheaper to use, we switch and use it.
Yeah, the way we are designing it, where it's gonna be telling the contractor to basically match as far as elevation wise the road is there. There's not a lot of effort for us to go one way or the other. It's more about calculating the quantities
Okay.
for bidding. So I don't see any risk on the county side to go forward with the project using the old methodology that is trying to 6 inches at the base, thicker asphalt. I'll have Terracon design the asphalt thickness, again, on the 20-30 year life.
So basically, if take advantage of the time value that way and not locking ourselves into any kind of process.
Yeah, I think that's what I would recommend doing. Just want to make sure you all are supportive of that as well.
The sooner we get it done, the cheaper it's gonna be. I can tell you what, the asphalt and all this stuff's gonna go.
It's already going there.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you can't even believe how it's gonna.
I'm not looking forward to it, I can tell you that.
Neither are we, but it's gonna happen.
It's
So,
gonna happen.
we're talking about a bidding process here then, John, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, not a bidding process, it's just more of a construction methodology. And it does, I don't think it requires a vote by the commissioner necessarily,
Okay.
just you all
Okay, I
advise.
didn't know if you were looking for an action item here.
No, just
Okay.
move forward with one, and if we get it ready, we can bid it as soon as we're ready, and again, if the prices come in above the budget, the county can reject the bids and just decide to wait. There's no loss on the county side for that.
Okay.
It's done very frequently. I've been involved in several of those.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. At the last meeting, the commissioners had approved a contract with Kirk Michael to survey and provide design plans to replace off-system Bridge 97. And we have not yet done the field survey for that project. We were concentrating on the roads down the Gilmar because it is such a crazy fast schedule to get that done. But as soon as we get caught up on that stuff, we'll be out here to survey that bridge and get started on design. And that project we're looking at constructing, I believe, in 2022 or maybe 2023 or 2024, depending on budget availability. And KDOT basically, once they award the project, which you probably, you have a contract with KDOT. Once the county approves the contract with KDOT, you have 2 years to bid the project. So it's not a huge hurry to get that going.
97 is the one on 114 road.
Is that Duck Creek?
No, that's the one out on 130.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Coon Creek there as well, right? Yeah.
Right, concrete bridge. I'll get that on my notes next time, location. Sorry about that. I get more projects on, I had 3 pages in my hand.
Right?
Hydro School roads, when we were at the Southwest Kansas County Highway Officials Conference here 2 weeks ago, KDOT said that they had made their I'm talking about local projects, KDOT had made their recommendation to the secretary which projects they were selecting, but has not been formally announced yet, so we do not know if Ford County was selected as of yet. Hopefully soon, we'll hear something. Talked about Jewel Road. So KDOT did provide the county an agreement on Highway 50 for, this is a maintenance agreement for taking over the access road once that project is completed and accepted. I did note one thing in the agreement that needed to be revised, that KDOT had marked the roads on the plan sheets that the county would be receiving, and one of them didn't get highlighted. My suggestion is to have the county council review the agreement from a legal standpoint.
And John, the reason why this falls on the county and not the township is because it's a paved road?
That's correct.
Okay.
So KDOT does intend to put, I believe, it's 7 inches of mixed asphalt on all these access roads.
Yeah, and I was gonna see if we could split that in half and maybe get some other roads done. No? Okay.
What are you doing with that? As I kind of mentioned, the county would not take responsibility until the project is completed and accepted by KDOT.
Okay.
And that is currently projected to be, I get my year straight, spring of '25.
Okay.
In about a 3-year duration. Now, I will say also that if, through all the things that are going on, if material, if there's like a nationwide or global material shortage, where contractors can't get materials to do the project, KDOT could very well grant them a longer time to do the project. As of today, it's a 3-year timeframe for total completion. So I believe end of April of 2025 is the completion date. As far as active projects that I'm working on and participating in, that's the conclusion of my report for today, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Good.
All right. Keep me busy, appreciate that.
Yep, thank you, John.
Thanks, all, have a good rest of the week.
You too.
Tell your mom and dad hi for me.
Certainly will do that, appreciate it.
Gentlemen, the next two items are for lists of employees to report on the CFAP project.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the first item we're presenting to you is for the United Wireless Arena ribbon board and screens purchase. And so we did have an opportunity to present this to CFAP last week to bring this recommendation to you of a sole source bid in the amount of $1,474,492 from Daktronics to bring to the city and county commissions for approval. And so back in February, the city commission had authorized staff to obtain a sole source bid for the United Wireless, these audio video components. And the reason for that is because the existing ribbon board is failing. Venue Works has purchased basically all of the parts that they can over the past several years, and those parts are now failing and there's not replacements and things available. Same thing with the screens that we have, they are starting to fail as well, and it's just with technology. Ryan Reed's here with us today, who works with some of those things, and he shared that we think about our computer 10 years ago and just the state that it's in. And in addition, there's very few vendors that handle this type of specialized equipment. And Daktronics is actually the industry leader that provides really a comprehensive system for all venues of different sizes. And they install quality systems, that they also work with parts, and would provide a partner to not only install this, but also service it. They do have service team out of Wichita, which is closer than some of the others, even though it's not right here. And as I mentioned, the existing screens in the ribbon board are about 10 years old now, and these replacements are necessary to keep them operational. The ribbon board is used a lot for different types of promotions. Right now, we'll be kicking off state basketball at the arena. This week, we'll be using all of those components to do that, and just same thing with a lot of those different events. That's also a sponsorship opportunity for the arena to be able to sell that to different sponsors that you'll see run during the shows. And basically, if this is approved, then this will be paid for with a short-term bond that has a 5-year payout. And I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. I will say that Chris Ragland with Venue Works is here. Nicole May with Finance is here if there's questions on the finance, and Brian Reed worked on putting this together, so if there was some reason a question I couldn't answer, we just wanted to make sure we were covered today on that. So I'll go ahead and open it up.
So Melissa, outside of Daktronics, how many other
Mhm.
people put in bids or offers?
In this particular case, we actually went with what's called a sole source bid, and that is because of the very limited amount of different types of vendors that would have this. So only Daktronics provided us with this. And one of the things why they provided us with some government pricing, which does create a little bit more competitive pricing than we would have seen otherwise.
And when you look at the end wall display, is it imperative that we get that done now? I know I've been in recently to the arena, and
Mhm.
the ribbon board is down. I mean, you can see like maybe a
Yeah.
quarter of it's off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably something that needs to be fixed right away. Is there urgency behind that end wall display?
It's at the point where it could basically age out at any time, and so it's considering that, perhaps the other option would be if we didn't decide to change the south port this time and just do that. However, with the increasing cost over time, and we will need to replace these probably within the next couple of years, it's just looking at the prices and how they're gonna keep accelerating.
Okay.
We also looked at the possibility of doing extended warranties, and you can do an extended warranty for about $35,000 a year, but generally what happens is that you don't see those issues with that equipment until year 5, year 6, up to year 10. So, that's why we weren't looking at pursuing those extended warranties. And of course, that is also something that we could come back and look at in the next budgetary process too, if we wanted to look at extended warranties.
It's very important, and that thing was so, when Young Guns was there, it was a big deal. That was so impressive, all those people, all those sponsors, Young Guns was continually going around, that's very good. And if you're gonna have, get up there, you gotta have it.
Yeah, and that's a great example, and for just a variety of the different events. Right now, like I said, you'll see the score going on the basketball tournaments. Even I know when they've had large weddings in there, they've had information, going across them for the wedding parties that are there. So it is definitely an impressive component, and if you were ever to take it out, you would also have basically where it was placed there. You can still see that on the wall.
Melissa, trying to remember back, we had a conversation, it may have been a CFAB, I don't recall for sure where, I was involved in this at some time or another.
Mhm.
We were talking about, the design of that ribbon that's there now. Basically, if part of it kind of fails, you just gotta fail forward. And I was wondering about, and I think I brought this up then, and I don't know that we've ever discussed it any further since, but what about modules? Something that's, if you have a piece of it that fails, that you are able to address that piece rather than, instead of we got one piece that fails and now we have an entire ribbon that, ribbon board that's no good to us, or we can't get parts for it or whatever. It seems like a huge expense for something when we have a piece of it that's not functioning.
And I would invite either Ryan or Chris if they could come and help answer this question as well if they like. But from what I understand, on the one hand, we have to replace the whole component because there's not a certain piece of it that will function without the overall control system. Correct, Ryan? This is Ryan Reed. He's Director of Administration and helps with some of those purchases and works with IT. And the module components for that.
I can't speak to that. I don't know for sure if the new system is gonna be any more modular than the current system. But I think the key thing is, at least from my point of view, is that this vendor produces a lot of their own parts, and, that's what's driving this replacement is that the parts aren't there, the components gradually, it's just like your truck or anything else. If you can't get a new whatever, your truck eventually doesn't work. And so that's what's driving this, and having a partner that has the ability to make some of their own parts and has a strong reputation in the field is gonna help us move forward, I think.
And when you looked at the ribbon board itself, like this one's 815 feet wide, I think what you're hitting at is there one that's maybe 100 feet wide, and you put in 8 of those for the place of the one? Is that what you're hitting at, to where
Yeah,
maybe
there's-
if part of that fails, you just take out the 100 foot, put the new 100 foot in? And I don't even know if that's, but that's kind of the example. Did you get a bid back for something like that, or is this
No.
just, okay?
No, we did not.
It was basically to replace the board as existing, especially with the components of the way they are currently set up, so that it would function in a similar manner, although you will have some upgrades in the way that it looks.
Okay.
It was explained at the meeting the other night, that I think Chris said this, that we've got every piece that we could ever possibly found up, and then we said, we're out of pieces. Keep this and that.
That exactly is correct, and over time, and early on, Chris Ragland and his team had purchased those, pieces, and, you know, at this point now, we aren't able to get them anymore, and, they're not functioning, so.
If we went with Daktronics, if they make their own components, are we able to go with another vendor if we decide to switch vendors in the future to something else? Or because they're the ones who, this is theirs, and they basically have lots of parts and pieces that they can plug in, are we able to go to maybe Samsung in the future and grab from them, or I don't know who the next carrier would be,
Yeah.
but
So really, Daktronics is the gold standard, or the platinum standard, if you want to put it that way, for this type of technology that we have. And so, I think when we would look at this in the future, when we get to that point, which it eventually will, in say another 10 years or so, it's something that we have to plan for. We would certainly look at this, but I think they're gonna probably rise above the other vendors because of what they're able to provide with this service. And at that point too, especially as technology changes and new vendors emerge in the market, we would be replacing everything as we have to now, because right now we can't use the existing board with the new technology. It all has to be replaced. Is that correct? Yeah.
okay. Currently on the north wall, there is a monitor, right, like a giant TV?
Yes.
But is there one on the south?
There is one on the south, but it's static. So
Okay.
it just shows an image, but it does not run actual video. And so what this would do is actually provide, although it's a smaller screen, it would provide video on both of those walls.
Okay. Half the size roughly? With new technology, is this also new, better, sharper images, those type of things?
Yes.
Tighter pixels, I guess?
Yes, exactly. It should make a real impact, actually. I mean, the lack of parts, sorry, I didn't mean to-
Oh, no,
the lack of
please.
parts is what's driving this, but, it should be one of those situations where, you know, we kind of need to do it, but, it's gonna have some positive wow factor, I think.
How about- And is the sound system that we currently have, is it, I mean, I assume it's separate than this, but it's something that all fits together nicely? I mean, it doesn't affect that, we don't have to upgrade sound a month from now going this route?
I'm not aware of any sound upgrades.
I think that the sound is still consistent, correct, Chris?
The sound's fine. We have to go through and always check our woofers and our tweeters and our
Yeah.
connections and all that. But that should have still a fairly stable life left ahead of it, other than minor replacements of horns and possibly connectors. But I'm pretty comfortable that we're gonna be all right for a few years. with some
Did they
existing
look
sound.
to see if it'll fit up there, or are they gonna do some construction after we put the new one up there? I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah, it should, I mean, they've looked at the install. Daktronics actually came out and did a site visit, so they've looked at all of that. What we do know is it's going to take about 3 weeks to install. And so we may actually be looking at install that happens to this, you know, in 2023 because of the time period it takes to get the parts in, and then actually installation, because we won't be able to install when we have ice in the arena. And then, of course, in January, we have several basketball games. That will be a consideration.
What's the length of time, and can they estimate how long it takes to put it in?
I think they estimated about 3 weeks is what they told us for putting it in. so, and that's of course once all of the equipment comes in. And then they do also work with a third-party vendor that helps them do installation. I will just add that probably here in the near future too, you'll see us back again because the light system is something else that's failing, and so I don't want you to all be surprised when we need to come and do that. We've put that project out to bid, and so we will be coming back to look at that, and that has to do with that lighting for the system, so.
There's an LED light inspector right behind it. Just lit these
Hi there.
lights. Well,
Getting all excited. Stay tuned.
And on this, you're saying it needs to go out for bond because of the size of the project?
Yes, we were looking at that just so that, it's not taking a huge, hit out of the depreciation fund with just this project, and that we would be able to pay that back though within the, 5 years.
I assume Daktronics isn't our current provider.
That's correct, they are not our current provider. So. Originally, when the arena was built, they had looked at going with Daktronics, but then it seems in going back and looking at the records, they looked for some cost-saving measures, which is the overall cost of the facility, and that was one of the areas that was cut back on, and so, they were purchased through different vendors.
Okay. Great.
I make a motion, we approve as written here. We have the United Wireless for $1,474,492.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Next item is also from Melissa.
So good afternoon again, and here's now with the approval of a slide restoration project by Whitewater West Industries, and this is for Long Branch Lagoon, and it includes the painting of the exterior slides, waxing, applying a gel coat as needed to the ride surfaces, and sealing any joints or seams that might be leaking. So the water park has 6 different slides within the complex that are used by the public, and we've identified different issues from calcium buildup, but also some what are called water absorption bubbles, and we provided you also with some photos of those things in your packet. But there's also some exposure of the existing fiberglass seams in all of the slides, and some of those issues come from some minimal past maintenance. Previously, that maintenance for the slides was handled by the third-party operator. But others come from the exposure to the elements and the hard water and things like that. And so we had these issues examined by 2 different vendors, Safe Slide Restorations and Whitewater West Industries. And so these are issues that need to be addressed before we have further deterioration of these slides. And so Whitewater is actually the manufacturer of 5 of the 6 slides. The 6th slide that is not is in Fort Splash, which is the children's area, that tube slide that's there. And so Whitewater has specific colors that they're the sole proprietor of, for example, on the Boomerango or on the tube slide. And so outside groups aren't able to match those colors. They would also come in and they'd repair the bubbles that are on the Boomerango that were caused by water getting under that gel layer. And then they have a specific gel coat that goes onto the slides. And then the waxing of the slides needs to be done to an exact level to match what's there. And so that also helps just the rider's experience on those slides. And Whitewater would also recommission the slides, stating that the work performed meets the specifications of the slides. And if Safe Slide were selected for this project, they would have to hire Whitewater to do that recommissioning of the slides. And then there would be a need to repaint the exterior of the sixth slide, which is the one at Fort Splash, the kiddie area. And that would just eliminate the fiberglass exposure that's there, and also wax the interior of the slide. Whitewater's able to complete this work for this season, which would be May 15th, and the Safe Slide restoration would not be able to complete it until fall of '22 or the spring of '23. And so the bid from Whitewater was $121,800, and Safe Slide did have the lower bid, but the reason why we're asking to go with the higher bid for this is because of Whitewater recommissioning the slides, matching the existing colors, and then also ensuring that the repairs are made for this season. So Nicole May, Finance Director, is also here too, if you have any questions. And Daniel Cecil, who's the Director of Parks and Facilities, was able to be with us today. So I'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Do we know how much certifying the slide would actually be if Safe Slides did it?
If they did it, they would be just, contracting. There would be a minimal additional cost, I think, for that. And then we would also have to rent an articulating boom lift for that. I think the additional cost was around, it was in between 10 and maybe 15,000 for those different things. It still doesn't quite fill the gap. I think the other reason we looked at this is, I think, and many times, sometimes, much like the Daktronics, we'll look at the cheaper option and think that that may be the way to go because it saves us some money, but it doesn't necessarily save us money over the long term with just the different repairs that need to make, and considering that they manufactured most of the slides.
How old are the slides?
So 2016 was when the water park was open, so that's when it started to be used.
Did they-
6 years this year.
Yeah, did they originally construct them, like install them and everything?
Yes, in conjunction with the contract construction manager for us that did the project.
So what you're saying is every 6 years it's gonna cost another $120,000?
Well, perhaps not quite every 6 years. Part of this comes from the elements and the waterware, but also the other portion comes from maintenance. And hopefully with taking over the operation of the maintenance, we can improve that so we can get more life out of our slides. With the, appropriate waxing
So
and
then
those type of
then
things.
we should sue the other people, right? That's what you just put the blame on, I mean, so that's.
Well, with
Making
the.
that lawsuit, there's a lawyer right there, he's ready to work. He went to work for me and charged me $200 for all that job he done. True story, right?
He does a good job. I think that it's something that we definitely, in answer to your question, it's something that we definitely need to plan for. It's one of those maintenance things, much like with our facilities. This is much different than technology, but it's things that we're gonna have to look at. But hopefully we can maybe get an extra couple of years, I would say, out of this with some additional proper maintenance.
We all need really humor.
Yes, we do, especially on a Monday.
This is the first year you take over managing the property, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're actively searching for staffing, so if anyone knows anyone, we'll just
There's
put
a
a
man right
shameless.
there that's got the answer to that.
Not for pools.
In all seriousness, yes, so this is the first year we've taken over, yes. we've taken over operation, and so, right now we do have in-staff maintenance, and we've started the hiring of the staff for the pool.
And the pool opens on what date?
On Memorial Day weekend.
Okay. And they're,
Like 28.
yeah, and Whitewater's saying they can get this done right now.
If we give them the go-ahead later this week, then they should have the project complete by May 15th.
I'd love to save the $45,000 minus whatever it'd be for procurement of
Mhm.
lift and their sign off on making it work, but I assume that coming this direction, the city, you are recommending the higher bid?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, I'd make a motion to go with, it would be Whitewater to, trying to think of the best way to word this, recondition the slide restoration, resurface them, waxing, applying the gel coat, as recommended by CFAB and the city.
I'd second.
With the motion second, any other words of wisdom to put into it?
I would agree with you. I'd like to save that $45,000 or $50,000 on this as well, especially given that these are slides that are designed by Whitewater to begin with, and we're fixing something that's failed. And going back with essentially the same, I guess, proprietary product that has already failed. I hope our maintenance program does what we feel like it will, and extend the life on this a little bit, but I'd like to hear that they're willing to stand behind their product a little bit better as well. And say, hey, this really should last longer than 5 years or 6 years. So,
I think the other side of it, what's interesting is what's costing so much more to have them be the provider. You know, I mean, that's a big difference. I mean, I assume these guys are, it's like taking, earlier we had a truck analogy, it's like taking your truck into the shop. I mean, they're both using the same parts, same labor, same concepts. I mean, now it's one that's basically flagged the dealer. Yeah. I mean,
But
that's-
what if we're using a cheaper product to go on?
and that I don't know. I mean,
Well, I don't know either. But I'm just telling you that,
people can meet.
well, first of all, they made this product to start with, and you can start right on by chewing on a, you know what, about the fact, hey, we're gonna give you this deal, but none of this garbage 6 years, this is that, because this is not gonna happen no more. We're gonna call on Mr. Lawyer there to put you out of business. And you can do that, I think.
All right. Any other discussion? I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Get these cards while you're there.
Item number 4 is for Iconology, and we have Sean here to talk to us real quick.
Thank you again for the time this afternoon, Commissioners. Wanted to just follow up again on the next steps for the county facility improvement projects we've been discussing for improved health, comfort, energy efficiency, maintenance and operations, and resiliency for the county facilities. We can discuss some of the funding mechanisms, process, procedures, and the next step would of course be moving forward with the public procurement to select a firm such as mine as the prime contractor to design and manage the construction turnkey for the facility improvement projects, and then back them with a performance guarantee for comfort and energy efficiency.
didn't practice that at all.
Fantastic.
So, refresh my memory again, we're talking about a request for quote?
It's a request for proposals, so it's qualifications-based proposals. The statute requires that you advertise in a standard circulation newspaper such as the Globe or others for a minimum of 1 to 2 weeks, and then also send the RFP specification, which I've shared with Glenn and JD, and they've reviewed that. You send them directly to 3 firms as well, just to make sure that you're getting coverage on a competitive process. You receive back proposals, it's basically kind of your process at that point. You can select a firm based on the proposals you receive, conduct interviews, kind of however you want to go through that selection process. And then once you select the firm, we discuss moving forward with the investment grade audit and actual design of the project.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a request for proposal.
I second
Is that the full motion?
For the facility.
Yeah, you could call it for the turnkey professional services for an energy performance contracting project.
You have it.
I might call it that.
Fair enough. We know what it is. So will everybody else.
A request for proposal for the facility improvements project will be good enough, I hope so.
Commissioner Snook, would you still second that one?
my second go away.
I wasn't quite done with my first.
Came in just a hair quick.
Well, I had about all of them, I
So I take it that's a second.
2-way street.
I would think so.
All right, gentlemen, with a motion and second, I'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, you as well.
Since 2019, is that right?
2019.
It'll happen overnight.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your
You guys
patience
soon.
with us.
Gentlemen, item number 5 is for Road and Bridge Superintendent Chris O'Leary. There will be 3 parts basically to item number 5.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Chris.
We have 3 action items, so we'll start with the cold mix bids. This is for our 2022 annual asphalt program. We received 1 bid from APAC Kansas, and it was $87.95 per ton. I was asking for 9,000 tons in a proposal. That puts us over our budget by $91,550. So if we bought exactly of our budget of 700,000, that would give us 7,959 tons of cold mix.
That's what I was wondering. So what does that do for you on roads?
We may have to cut back on the thickness. The roads that we're planning on overlaying this year, we were gonna do 117 from Highway 400 down to Saddle. And we were gonna do McCarter from the city limits out to the KDOT right away. If we did a 3/4 inch overlay, that would be 3,791 tons. A 1 inch overlay would be 5,018 tons of material, so that would still leave us a little under 3,000 tons for pothole patching. So we may just have to go in between for, yeah. I'm not, so far, I haven't seen a lot of potholes out there.
Want to travel along with me?
I was gonna say, you wanna go driving?
It's like you were saying earlier, he wants to get out of the office.
I was gonna say, you can come out with us a little
Not on the golf course.
Wow. So yeah, we would be fine with just a little under 8,000. I think something in the, like John's talked about, these prices are just,
It is
they're
what
not
it
gonna,
is.
yeah, they're not gonna go down.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve APAC Kansas for the cold mix as recommended by Chris O'Neill.
I'm second.
Motion second, any further discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next one is the emulsion oil bids. We received 2 bids, all three different options. So option A is for the price of material picked up at a local plant within a 50-mile radius of Dodge City. And Ergon Asphalt and Emulsion come in at $2.26 for that. Option B is for oil that would be delivered to various job sites in Ford County. And Ergon Asphalt and Emulsion come in at $2.34 per gallon. Option C is the oil be delivered to various job sites in Ford County by vendors that are outside of a 50-mile radius of Dodge City. And we received a bid from Vance Brothers of $2.50 a gallon. So my recommendation is to approve Ergon Asphalt Emulsions, both their option A picked up price and their option B delivered price.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve Ergon Asphalt Emulsions for both options as recommended by the Road and Bridge Supervisor.
I second that.
All right, motion second, I'll go ahead and call a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And last one is for sealing sand. We received 3 bids this year. Hard Rock Sand and Gravel came in at $9.75 per ton. Crowell came in at $5 per ton. And Clot Sand and Asphalt Paving came in at $7 a ton. My recommendation is Crowell.
Where's Crowell from?
So they took over Dodge City Sand. They're from Iowa, but they took over Dodge City Sand.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve Crowell as the winner of the 2022 ceiling sand bid.
I second that.
Motion second, any further discussion? Call the vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Just as a, I think you might get a sense of humor out of this, some gentlemen that were, actually Sheriff Department know about this more than I would, but there were some gentlemen that were driving Butter Neck Road, and I believe they worked at a plant, there was 3 guys in a car, and they always speed that road. According to some of the people that live on the road, they were discussing this with their local commissioner, and basically said the day you guys went out and ceiling sanded that, they ended up rolled in the ditch, just out of control. Might not be bad to have a sign up that says, ceiling sand just happened, slow down. Not that you have to do that, but I just thought it was, they said they were going roughly about 75 down the road, time of accident. Butter Neck.
That happens all the time, you can get down to J&J Power Company.
We put loose gravel signs up on every road.
Oh, I know.
I
They're
think
just-
I have a speed limit trailer out there on it now too.
Do you really?
There's usually speed limit signs out there, they should.
Well, if there's, if technically there's no, if there's no speed limit sign, then it's 55 mile an hour, so.
Yeah.
You put that out there the other day, you drug it out there and unhooked it, and 2 of them cats going to work out the car, raced right by
Yeah.
Jimmy and J&J deal. Boom, boom, that thing going 75 radius.
Sign.
I don't know, maybe we should put up a trail cam or something, right?
No, I think you should put a corner outside.
Oh.
And the gate come on and shuts down to, the sign says there's a gate closed across the deal, turn around.
I don't know, there's buffalo out there, that'll get your attention.
Oh, man. Yeah.
By the way.
Anyway, that's my fun humor in that one.
No comment.
Yeah. Fair enough. Sorry, Commissioner Gilbert, we got off track there, so I think we're back on track for you.
Chief Boyd is here to present for the annual software renewal for fire and EMS.
This invoice is for renewal of our software program that we do all of our fire and EMS reports on, as well as tracking all the fire hydrants that we are in charge of. It's a budgeted expense.
It was back in the, IT with Maricat? Meraki? Maricat sounds good. It was back in that one.
I remember seeing that.
This fee is based off our call fees, so.
Yeah,
Before it
this
goes
goes up.
up, fee goes down.
It's never going down.
It's,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the image trend invoice for fire and EMS, amount of $14,579.35.
I second that.
All right, your motion second, I'll call vote, all those in favor? Aye.
thank you.
Gentlemen, the next two items are for our IT director, Marty Brummer.
Welcome back.
First one I have for you is for a storage unit upgrade. If you remember, a couple years ago, we had to add more storage for our users to store their data here locally. We're looking at doing that again. The device we have is capable of quite a bit more storage, which I think is reflected on option number 1, would be to max that device out, which would give us quite a bit of storage to get you down probably 10 years or so, depending on the data usage. I did get a request for storage of more video and audio from one of the departments today, so we're meeting on that later this week to see how much that's going to take up. The second option is what we actually asked them for, which was just to increase it by another 16 terabyte, which is similar to what we did a couple years ago. The third option is just somewhere in between, basically. It's about a 30 terabyte there for the final one, if I don't remember right. Let's see. Yeah, it was almost 50 terabytes for that final one. My recommendation for budget purposes and such, and again, would give us probably another 5 years down the road, 2 to 5, would be option number 2.
Director Bremer, when you look at these, and in my mind, I keep thinking of like, terabytes are pretty easy to come by now, like the little storage boxes that you can buy from Walmart. Why is it this expensive compared to that? Like, what else is coming with this?
Sure. So, and we have departments that are doing this, they buy the external storage, 1 terabyte for $149 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they holler at us when it don't work, and we lost all that data.
Okay.
Okay, so this is 6 drives capturing, striping that data across 6 drives. So we can lose up to 2 drives without losing any data.
So you got multiple backups?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the main difference, is you've got technology here that's striping that data across 6 drives as opposed to 1 drive that's point of telemetry.
And in your time, you know, the IT directing, is this storage, is this something you see coming down in price, or is it staying stable?
It's
or?
staying stable right now. What's becoming harder is availability.
No.
You know, whether or not it's in stock or not.
Okay.
And that's why we try to stay with the brand names such as this one. This is a Dell Unity made by EMC, which is the original owner of this product. They're made here in the United States and readily available. So.
Yeah.
Are components all here in the United States?
Yes, sir. You'll find some of the chips and stuff though are still made overseas. So these processing chips that read this data and stuff, some of those are still made overseas. But we're not changing any of those components. Those are already in place.
Okay.
This is just adding additional drives to the system that we have.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the storage unit option 2 as recommended by IT Director Marty Bremer in the amount of $40,889.77.
I'll second that. Is this, I assume this is still like a Round Rock, Austin, Texas type thing with Dell? Is that?
It's actually out of Boston.
Boston,
area.
is that EMC then? That's Boston. Okay. That's fine. Boston, Boston.
Dell bought out EMC probably about 8-10 years ago.
Okay, nice. It's nice that it's here. All right, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second for option 2 for the Dell Unity storage. We'll call a vote, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
What you got next?
The next item is the EMC renewal. This is for the hardware and software that we do annually with them. This is just to renew the hardware and software contract for those two devices that we have. This is for both, I should state, our production site, which is here, and our disaster recovery, which is remote. And if you want me to entertain, the next time it comes around for a 3-year or 5-year, we might get a little reduction.
Is this?
This is just an annual, or
Okay.
actually, let me check and make sure. Yep, this is just a 1-year. At the very top of the second page, renewal coverage 2/1/22 through 4/29/23.
So 2, yeah, and here. Okay. It's an odd time.
Well, we're past due.
Okay.
We had a little trouble with them getting the quote, so.
Gotcha.
They're still honoring our support, so.
Mr. Chairman,
That's the $40,889.77.
Seven.
That's for the
15.
data storage, yes, sir. This one is for the EMC, it's for 15,000. I apologize.
Is that 787.35?
Yes. Do you need a copy?
I got so many copies. I don't
Okay.
know where I'm at. I got it.
Okay.
make a motion to approve the EMC renewal, amount of $15,787.35.
I second that.
So the motion second, I'll call a vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, the next item is for Blue Hill Distillery. I know the information says Hayes, Kelman, and Lee, but it's Lee Griffith. And this is basically an ask for forgiveness moment as opposed to permission. As you all know, our letters of support process has to go through the county commission.
Right.
And we had just, I believe that was the day after the commission meeting, the Blue Hill Distillery needed a letter of support for the base grant through the state. But it's the same
To meet
grant
the
that-
deadline.
Yeah, to meet the deadline,
Correct.
the same grant that the museum was asking us for.
Right.
So I asked Chairman Boyes if he'd be willing to sign that letter of support on behalf of the commission, and then we'd come back to the meeting which is today, to get that permission in arrears, so to speak. So Lee's here to present on behalf of Blue Hill Distillery.
Correct.
For a letter of support that was already signed by Chairman Boyes.
I was waiting to see if samples were coming, but nothing came out. Rolling in a barrel or something.
The sales guy carry samples in there?
Right, yeah.
I did bring visual aids, though, and I'll let you pass those around.
Chris, I was trying.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As the Administrator says, my name is Lee Griffith, and I am the Director of Sales at Boot Hill Distillery. I've been with the distillery nearly since its began operation in 2016, but didn't officially come on board. They didn't start paying me until about 2017. I come before you this afternoon to thank you for retroactively signing a letter of support for the Kansas Department of Commerce base grant application and to provide a little more information about our goals for the project. As you're aware, funds distributed from the base grant are designed to grow local economies and businesses, particularly those affected by COVID-19. We take great pride that the ingenuity of two Southwest Kansas farmers created a social and economic driver in our area, that we saved a historic structure in the downtown area, and have created not only a manufacturing facility, but a destination location for locals and tourists alike. However, growth in sales of our spirits, coupled with limitations of our space and surrounding land, have necessitated the expansion of our business off-site. Now, this process began in the summer of 2020 with the purchase of a 10-acre lot at the northwest corner of Highway 56 and South 14th Avenue. And within 3 months, we completed our first structure for warehousing of packaging materials, as well as a federally bonded storage for barrels of whiskey and finished product. Now, this was the beginning of a long-term expansion project and anchors the first development of the business park on that land. Well, in January 2020, BHD was on pace to expand operations. However, when COVID-19 became a national health emergency, Boot Hill Distillery pivoted operations from spirits to hand sanitizer to help the community in need. Now, this project quickly turned into regional demand. In 6 months, the distillery produced and distributed over 100,000 bottles across Kansas and 5 neighboring states. Now, while we proudly put our community's need for our own, the burden of hand sanitizer production temporarily ceased spirits production and slowed sales and marketing. But despite the pandemic starting in 2021 and continuing into 2022, we have seen exponential growth in our business, not only in wholesale within Kansas, but in expanding markets to other states, including Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, and California. To meet the demand of an ever-changing and competitive market, we have created an entirely new product line of ready-to-drink canned cocktails, of which require new equipment to produce and package. We've also begun contract distilling to create, produce, and package spirits for other companies. And lastly, we created a whiskey in partnership with K-State University, of which the demand created the necessity of purchasing automated equipment to keep up with the bottling. And we've done all this working within the space of our historic building and the production capabilities that date back to the beginning of BHD's development. Now, we have applied for $5 million for the base grant to expand our production and packaging capabilities located at this new campus. And if awarded, the project will anchor Boot Hill Distillery's primary distilling, processing, aging, and packaging operations. And not only will it allow for the building modern upgraded facilities, but also create as many as 20 to 30 new full and part-time jobs in the area. With it, that is an increase of about 4 times over current staffing. Now, the original downtown building will always be our home base, but we will be able to repurpose some of the spaces for retail, tourism. This expansion project will position Boot Hill Distillery to become a powerhouse economic driver for Dodge City and Ford County. Of course, we appreciate your support of our base grant application and our continued partnership with Ford County. Again, I've provided kind of a concept of what the potential expansion could look like. And of course, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So are you gonna go to jail for phoning up a deal, or is he gonna go to jail?
For what?
That's up to the sheriff over there.
We hope none of that has to get involved.
What do you say, prickly ash bitters? What is it?
As part of the grant application process, we had to require letters of support through various avenues, and that's when I approached the county and Commissioner Gilbert in various avenues.
How much acreage did you guys get down south?
So it's 10 acres.
Okay.
And if I recall, we have the right of first refusal of the adjacent properties as well. So it's, but that 10 acres, as you can see on the
nice
bird's
building.
eye view, is quite a bit of expansion land compared to the first building that's out here.
And that utility easement, you can't build within that square footage or?
That, I don't have an answer to that question. That's, there was some issues with that utility easement, but that's as much as I have information at the moment.
You're right south of the military, right?
Correct. Yeah, that corner.
It's exciting.
Very exciting for us, yeah. If we're awarded, and we don't know what they'll come back with, and we don't know, but hopefully we'll find out within.
How much money was available for this one? Was it 700
It
million?
was something like that, yes.
And there was like 800 people that put in for it or something?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at least. So, and I know there's some big municipalities that.
Right.
That, you know, we're getting much larger amount.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna get the bottom of that, but
Sure.
that's what we need to get going.
We need a motion to
Just approve the letters, please.
Hey, it says to approve a letter of support dated.
Yeah, that's right.
I would make a motion to approve the letter of support dated 2/25/22,
I second that.
only because the chairman was aware though.
I'm so excited you guys motioned and seconded this. It would have really looked bad if I would have done that.
I'm also very excited.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion and second to approve a letter of support dated 2/25/22 for Boot Hill Distillery. I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 10, gentlemen, is a possible schedule conflict with the Pawnee County Commissioners meeting scheduled March 21st. They wanted us to be there for approximately 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. that day, and that's also the day of our meeting.
Right.
So,
I think the simple solution is to move the time of our meeting back an hour. And I think that meeting is pretty important. We've got the sheriff over there nodding his head emphatically that a meeting is important tonight. I believe it is.
We might not have to move it that far if Sheriff's driving.
Well, they give us an estimate.
Well, if he goes down Butternay.
Wheel's been fixed, we're okay.
I read a news story here, that Sedgwick County is petitioning for, another facility like this in Sedgwick County. And I guess I can see where the need is.
There's a need, there's a dire need.
The staffing that they have over at Pawnee comes a lot from Sedgwick County. They got employees that are coming from down there.
So, real quick, if you don't mind, so the issue, it's great if they do get it, I hope they do. They're obviously a community that could probably be better suited to fill the voids. But the other alarming part of it that you gotta think about is if they open that up there, basically Larned will still stay open, but they're gonna draw professionals from other facilities within the county to that facility. So they're gonna probably potentially get into a wage war. And then my concerns are is making sure it's available to us in true western Kansas.
Why don't we just move our meeting to Wednesday or Tuesday or something like that?
Tuesday is
we said,
Spring break, right? Oh, no, spring break's over.
spring break.
Yep.
I've got a land auction, I know that afternoon.
On the 22nd.
How long it'll go, but I know I've got that going.
Do a morning.
Whatever you think. I'm available, whatever you want.
Could do a morning meeting.
Do a morning meeting.
Is that doable for you, Chris?
Yep.
Fine, me. 8 o'clock?
No.
8 o'clock will be fine with me,
this building opens,
8 o'clock.
7:30 it is.
7 a.m.
We'll break up.
We do a midnight madness meeting.
would you wanna do 8:30 so staff isn't, I mean, they're able to come in, put their things away, settle?
I'd take
Probably
right
right
back.
Yeah.
I got a boy I need to get to school too, so.
Sure.
He can miss.
He can walk, I did.
He's got a horse, he'll be okay.
Well, that picture out there of Mount Everest.
Oh, yeah.
Says, this is apparently the route my parents took to school the other day.
And some of them didn't come back.
Is that what we're gonna do? We'll make a motion to do that.
It's your idea, why don't you make it?
I make a motion, we move the meeting, the second meeting of this month to 8:30 in the morning.
On the 21st or the 22nd?
Can't even see the damn
The
calendar.
regular meeting is on the 21st. The Monday or Tuesday?
It's Monday morning.
That's the 21st.
11:30.
That's 11:30.
Take an hour.
So do you just want to move it to the next day and just avoid the conflict altogether? Well, that's a motion.
Yeah, we got a motion.
We got a motion on the table here.
Tuesday morning, any best?
I'm gonna decline the second time, we'll revisit this one.
All right, so we have a motion and no second, so motion fails.
So, 8:30 in the morning on the day following, that way we don't have our meeting run into the meeting we're supposed to have in Larned.
And you can still make your land.
And we should be able to still make the land deal there that afternoon that way. Does
Okay.
that work, Kenny?
Works for Ryan.
Works for me. Okay, I would make a motion then to move the next county commission meeting to Tuesday, the 22nd at 8:30 in the morning.
I second it.
I'll call the vote, motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Upcoming meetings, we have a 3 Eye Show coming up March 17th and 19th. We have the CFAB, or Community Facility Advisory Board, Tuesday the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. That's all I have for the admin report, with the exception of,
So when was the meeting in Larned? What was the time on that?
21st at 11:30.
Yeah.
2:30. That's all I have for the admin report, with the exception of the executive session. Mr. Chairman, you have the wording there in front of you.
JD, I think, upcoming meetings, Amy, what were the dates of the KCCA conference?
You've got it in front of you on your paperwork.
Twenty-sixth, 27th, 28th of April. Would be the Kansas County Commissioners Association conference. That's in Salina. At the Golden Garden Inn.
Okay. All right, I'd make a motion that we move the board into recess into an executive session to discuss legal issues related to the Ford County Treasurer's Office pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception of the Kansas Open Meetings Act, KSA 7543192. The Open Meeting Act to resume in this location.
What do you think?
20 minutes?
15 or 20?
All right, so, okay, we'll go with 5:45. In addition to the commissioners, I have the county administrator.
You wanna go 15 or 20 minutes? Is that right? So we would wanna go 5:45. Maybe 5:30?
5:30? 5:30, fine. So,
So 5:30?
5:30. Is you right? Commissioners, county administrator, assistant county administrator, deputy county treasurer, county counselor,
And we have Scott Lloyd who's gonna join us too.
and Scott Lloyd. Should all be included in the executive session. That would be the motion.
I would second.
Motion second. I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're back out of executive session. And I would like to make a motion to approve an engagement letter with Hoyt Group.
I would second.
With the motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up is an adjournment. I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
I didn't catch the second, but I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.